left corner.
Yeah,
But not on LinkedIn yet.
yes, this is why I'm also, and we are already late.
Yeah, that's okay. I guess people will understand that thing. So, like, shall we again like reconnect to the call or something?
Yeah, just a second, let me.
It shows me now. It's it's on.
On LinkedIn,
Yeah.
I still can't see.
Yeah, I can now see.
Oh, yes.
Great.
So looks like we are live.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Sure.
Just checking it out. Yes, we are live now.
Great.
So let's start. So good evening. Hi, my name is Bablu Kumar, and I'm a security domain researcher here at Dynamic CISO. And I'm also a security enthusiast who spends a lot of time learning and doing security research. And I also love to automate my repetitive task using Python. And who doesn't love Python? Dynamic CISO has organized this hands-on interactive workshop to help security researchers, bug bounty hunters to do effective reconnaissance on a given target. So today our guest is Harsh, who ranked among Bug Crowd top 150 hackers and MVP for 2020 quarter one. He will demonstrate how to conduct effective reconnaissance and how it fits into the overall pen testing and bug hunting process. But before I hand it over to him, I would like to set the context, especially for those who are new to security domain and bug hunting. Reconnaissance is a process and set of techniques using which you discover and collect information about a target system. Recon doesn't always mean to find subdomains belonging to a company, like there are so many tools available for that also. It could also relate to finding out how a company sets up its properties and what resources they're using. But remember, recon doesn't mean bounties. It just means they now have you have now a larger surface attack surface, and it gives you a bigger scope to hack on in order to find more loopholes, vulnerabilities. And heads up coming up, doing recon takes a lot of time and patience, and sometimes it is an iterative process. So Harsh will share his methods of doing effective reconnaissance and what tools he uses and how he automates the whole process so you can hack while you sleep. And this is a very fancy term. I like that. So thank you so much, Harsh, for your precious time. And we all are excited to see your talk, offensive reconnaissance talk, methods, tricks, and tips that you want to share with us. And one more thing, please ask your questions in the comment box, and at the end of the workshop or even in the middle of them, I'll ask Harsh on your behalf. So having said that, let's get started, into the fun part of the workshop, and I invite Harsh for that. Please introduce Harsh, and let's begin. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks Bablu for giving a very quick introduction about Recon to the people. It helped actually and saved a lot of time for me as well to give a brief formal introduction. So what I will be doing is right now I'm just going to share my slides without any further ado so that we can utilize the time as much as we can. and just in count of, I guess, 2, we should be good. Just to confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that's great. Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, so I will be just turning off my video for now, and there we go. Okay, good. So today we are going to talk about offensive reconnaissance, the bug hunter's playbook, or I should say the most important part while starting out for a new program or even an old program. So um, quickly going through who I am currently working as a security engineer at Security Innovation, Bakka top 150 researchers of all time, SINEC Red Team member. I have authored multiple books on hacking. 2 of them are listed over here. I sometimes write blogs about my findings and some random stuff. Occasionally, I do talk at conferences or I go for taking workshops and seminars. I am a lifelong learner, as you all are. And in my part-time free time, I just write some poetry and just to do some fun stuff. I have previously given quite few talks upon reconnaissance, which covers your basic tools like what is Whois, how to do Google docking, how to do GitHub docking, and things like that. So for this particular talk, I just wanted to focus more upon offensive side of reconnaissance, not the very much basic things, but the things which will be more detail oriented and things which will result into more success in the content which might be new or less familiar to you guys. So if you are really looking to go through and brush up the basic concepts, you can follow up these 2 links. Bablu will provide the PPTs so that you can go directly and click over there. So these are my talks only, which covers the basic for reconnaissance. Okay, so coming forward, the agenda for today will be a quick introduction to Recon, the Recon 101, what we have before Recon and what we get after Recon, what is scope-based Recon. So this is my approach, which makes my reconnaissance part more fun, easier, and effective. The scope-based Recon. So we will look at what scope-based Recon is and how to do scope-based Recon. Then the offensive approach for the recon, the simple few steps that I use to do my reconnaissance on bug bounty hunting targets or a basic pen test. Then how we can automate the recon using the offensive approach. Okay, automating the recon to finding the critical or low vulnerabilities, like any kind of vulnerability with recon. Then obviously hack while sleeping. This is really a fun and fancy term, as Bablu said, and I really love it. So hack while sleeping is something that you automate your stuff and you just go to sleep or enjoy Netflix or something, because we cannot always be robot and do hack 24/7, but our systems can. Okay. At last, we will be going through some of the case studies and examples and the further roadmap, question answers, and sweet goodbye. Okay. So quickly moving to Recon 101, I just want to give you a brief idea about what Recon is, why we do Recon, when and where we do Recon, and ultimately how we do effective Recon. Okay. So as Bablu said, that Recon is a process to basically increase your attack surface, which is very much true. Just to give you some other idea about recon. So basically recon is something like scratching up every possible presence of your target to see what you can find out, right? So there might be some place where your target is leaking out a database information, maybe the credentials for a particular service for say Amazon Web Service. Okay, you might not simply go and Google it like, okay, I want target.com's AWS credential and it is going to give you the target.com's AWS credential. But what if you go to GitHub and you say target.com and then you say, AWS underscore secret or something like that. And then you narrow down your search to a specific service where there is a possibility to gain those secrets, right? So now, if you can get those secrets, you can basically access their Amazon Web Service. And if you can access their internal service, you can do a lot of, boom. So recently, we all know about the Twitter hack, which involved a lot of stuff from social engineering to going through the internal panels and things like that. So reconnaissance is all about scratching up and knocking every possible corner of the internet presence of your target to find out a new attack surface which you can attack, or which might be fresh, and most of the bug bounty hunters or the pen testers might not have touched it already. So if there is a program, for say there is a program like Starbucks, or there is a program like Yahoo or something which is very much old, right? So if you are going and hitting their main application, you might need to do a lot of hard work and might, come up with really a new fancy attack vector sometimes to find a simple bug over there. Or if you are totally new and you are not getting that particular motivation, reconnaissance is going to give you an edge over the other researchers, where you can actually find a particular endpoint or maybe a new domain or anything which might give you some fruitful vulnerabilities, and you can still find good bugs into the old mature programs. Okay, so why we do recon is simply because I want to be one step ahead, or have more edge on my side for my pen testing, because I want to figure out first those domains, or those endpoints which others might not have touched so far, right? So this is going to give me an edge over others, and a quick easy win, and there will be less chance of duplicates and things like that. But there is also a disadvantage. Sometimes the company disagree to accept it as their own scope target, and then you feel like I did a lot of reconnaissance on for say target.com, and the target.com is saying that this is out of scope, and this is not a part of scope, right? So this is something we are going to focus upon this talk, that what is scope based recon, and what you should do in a particular scope. Okay, so this would be the when part and where part, that when you should do recon and where you should do recon. So this is something that we will cover into the scope based recon part, and how we should do recon. Like, there are a lot of tools, right? So if I say I want to do subdomain enumeration, there are like 10 to 15 tools that everybody can count on their fingertips, and after that there are like hell lot of automation scripts created by the developers and hackers across the globe. Now, I don't want to use each and every of the script, because the results would be repetitive and time consuming. Now, instead of using the 10 or 15 or thousands of tools, what I will do is I will, take a domain for say target.com. I will run all the 1,000 tools against the target.com. Then I will see the speed and efficiency and number of finding of that particular tool. Now from those 1,000 tools, I will choose 2 or 3 tools for say Subfinder, or maybe EMAS, or maybe Aquatone, or uh, Sublister or something. And then I will add only those 3 4 tools to my recon workflow, because I know that these are enough for me. They give me enough information that I need for it. And I need not to jump to every new tool which is being released in the market. So what we have before recon versus what we get after recon. So basically, before starting recon or hunting into a program, we know the target's name, the scope details, like what all things are in scope, a high level overview of the application, like what the application is about. Like there's a target.com, which is a healthcare application, or a mobile banking application, or a e-commerce application, like that. Now, credential or access to the application, it simply means that, for example, if it's a sandbox environment, the Bugcrowd or HackerOne or other platform, they provide you with the credentials. Or if there is a restricted access to their production environment, they provide you with the VPN or something like that. Or it might be a public application in many scenarios. So that is your credential or access to the application, and some information based upon the target, like what are the out of scope vulnerabilities, what are the already found vulnerabilities, and things like that. That totally depends upon the target. Now, a few moments later, when we do recon, this is something on a high level we get, like a list of all live subdomains, interesting IPs and open ports, sensitive data, hidden endpoints, juicy directories, publicly exposed secrets from various platforms, hidden parameters, low hanging vulnerabilities such as XSS, Open Redirect, SQLi. Yes, you can actually find, with that we will see your scope, which was initially simply star.target.com, now goes to 1,000x. Like, you get a thousands of subdomains, thousands of hidden endpoints or other attack surface to hack on, and list continue like really longer now. Okay, so there we talk about scope-based recon, which is the essence and the main target of this talk. So when I say scope-based recon, whenever we go to Bugcrowd, HackerOne, or any bug bounty platform, okay, we see something called scope details, right? So there might be a single application in scope, or might be multiple application with star, or you might see everything in scope, right? So basically these are the three high level categories of the scope. When I say small scope, I mean that it would be more of a sandbox environment where it is not a original production environment. It is specifically meant to be pen tested, right? And there might be some features which are known to be loosey for you so that you can test it efficiently. Like for example, the sandbox might not be behind a firewall, so that you can test it without getting restricted by your the firewall for your payload, like accesses or something. Then when we talk about medium scope, it's usually like star.target.com with some applications, particular set of applications in scope, or it might say that blog.target.com or community.target.com is out of scope. So medium scope is like we still have a huge attack surface. Okay, when I say large scope, everything about the internet presence of target.com, whether it be a subsidiary of the target.com, whether it be the online accounts, GitHub, AWS, everything that relates or points to target.com would be in scope. So this is something where you utilize everything of your recon. This is something where you utilize some of your part of recon, and this is where you have to really restrict your recon, right? Now, the game is, if you are trying to do recon like in small scope similar to large scope, right? So for large scope, I say you did 20 recon things like subdomain scanning, subdomain takeovers, subsidiary scanning, IP scanning, things like that. There is no use of doing those same things on small scope applications, because most of the time, if you will even find something with recon on small scope like you did in large scope, most likely the company would say that it's out of scope, or it's not a part of scope, and you might get hurt by your reputation on HackerOne, or -1 on Bugcrowd, or similar things on other platforms, right? So we need to be very much sure and granular about what we want to do recon in a particular scope, and how we want to approach. So in next few slides, we will be looking at the scope based recon for each of the three. So before moving forward, if you have any questions so far, you can just ping me. Bablu, you can just let me know if the audience has any questions so far, so that I can just quickly cover it over.
No, Harsh, actually, we don't have any question right now, so you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so when I talk about small scope recon, these are few of the things that you can actually look for while doing the recon, because this is actually something fruitful that will lend you some bounties or something. So when I say small scope recon, there is a sandbox application that we discussed already, like single or multi-page applications. What we can do is we can enumerate the directories like target.com slash, and then we can enumerate the further directories that would be obviously in the scope. We can enumerate the service running, the web server, or maybe the programming language to uh, execute our attacks more specifically. For example, the service is Nginx 1.10.2. There might be integer overflow attack. If it's some Apache older version, there might be Apache range killer attack. So things like that. So that you can do. Broken link hijacking is basically like there is a link which is pointing to some third-party service or website or some social media profile, which is actually no longer in existence, and you can actually create same same profile on Facebook, or maybe purchase a domain which is now no longer available or pointed, and you can basically hijack the broken link. It's more of similar like subdomain takeovers, but only difference is it should be the link should be broken and no longer pointed to the original source. Then JS file for hard-coded APIs and secrets. So you can still check the JS file which are loaded with the application, which are present in the application for the secrets. Like maybe there might be some API keys for say Google Map API key, which is no longer accepted on Bugcrowd though. There might be some secrets like AWS secret or some username password hard coded, which you can further utilize. Now, GitHub Recon is sometimes you can do if the programs allow. The acceptance chance would be totally, based on program. So this is your chance to do it or not. Then parameter discovery is something that you can do because all you need to do is to find some hidden endpoint on the same domain. So that's again something that you can do over here. Then Wayback History or Wayback URLs for the target.com, again, going to give you a long list of the endpoints and directories and things like that. So that is also will be in scope. Google Doc. Now, if you want to Google Doc for a small scope recon, you actually have to look for the specific set of information. For example, the directories, like some backup directories or some database files being exposed, or maybe recently I read a blog where a person found a UUID using Google Doc, and which he used for the priv escalation or some IDOS. So you might want to do Google Doc for the specific things for your scope only, right? Then you can use the potential URL extraction using GF patterns and use the automation scripts, which we will discuss a little later once we cover this scope based recon part, to automate finding like XSS or LFI, RFI or SQL injection or things like that. Okay. Now, when I talk about medium scope recon, the list, if you compare here, just go a little longer. Now the target.com or similar multiple applications are in scope. So what you can do when you see star, right? You can basically enumerate subdomains. You can check for their takeovers. You can check for the misconfigured third-party service. For example, there is something called blog.target.com or some wiki.target.com. Wiki.target.com is running Atlassian Confluence, which has some XSS or some SSR of vulnerability, some CV. So what you can do is you can basically check if they are misconfigured or patched or not, right? Then it's misconfigure storage option like S3 buckets or some other cloud buckets as per applicable. So you can check if they are having some read write permission exposed. So when it comes to read permissions, mostly it's intentional so that the resources over this particular bucket could be loaded somewhere, but mainly check for the write and modify permissions, or read permission if the bucket is somewhere private, leaking some private information. Then the broken link hijacking, that's something we talked earlier, the directory enumeration, the service enumeration. Now, here we can do search JS files for the domains and other third-party service as well, because see, the target.com is in scope, star.target.com, not only target.com. Then we can do a huge set of GitHub Recon. This time, there are like 99% chances of GitHub Recon, the findings from GitHub to be accepted. The parameter discovery and things like again are same till here. Then internet search engines discovery like Shodan, Census, Spice, you can use those search engine to find more endpoints. Now recently, when there was a LFI CV for this big IP came into picture, there was a very simple way to identify if an organization is having that particular vulnerable software running or not. You have to just extract the fave icon hash of the big IP, and then use the Shodan to search all the big IP servers using that the fave icon. And once you search, you have to again apply a filter, say org target.com, or say ssl target.com, or hostname or something like that, and you can further granulate your search and you can get the good results from that. Again, the potential URL extraction for vulnerability automation using GF pattern and your custom or already available automation scripts. Okay. So this is something, the actual gameplay is the large scope based recon, which you will see in many of the programs, if not all. So the list, if you compare from the first one, is like actually huge and quite involve everything of recon. So what we do here is the first thing that I do is I track and trace every possible signature of the target application. So when I say every possible signature, there is something called subsidiary or acquisition, or there might be some companion websites being launched by your target.com website. So you have to Google search it, you have to Google doc it, like what I do is I usually search based on the copyright information for Google Doc, and it gives me a lot of information. We will see it in action. Then subsidiary and acquisition enumeration. So subsidiaries basically the organization which are a subpart, like Google took over, for example, Android, or like Facebook took over WhatsApp and Instagram. So Instagram and WhatsApp are the subsidiary or the co-organizations of the Facebook, right? Now what I do is, if everything is in the scope, I first see what are the subsidiaries of Facebook. Okay, I got to know that Instagram is subsidiary of Facebook. Now I search for the subsidiaries of Instagram. I found Target is the subsidiary of Instagram. Then again, I check the subsidiary of Target, if is there any, and then like the depth goes to maximum, and it gives you literally like a very big attack surface in this case. So you can use like Wikipedia or the Google, which actually tells you how the subsidiaries of every target, and you can also use Owler, or you can use this Crunchbase for the acquisition enumeration. Now you can do DNS or SSL enumeration to find out more hidden endpoints, or more endpoints that relates to the target. ASN and IP space enumeration, which will give you a list of the IP range being used by your target, and further you can perform the network scans like Nmap or your preferred tools, identify the service running on them, and if there is any service which is vulnerable already, having a CV or something, you can try exploiting it. The most favorite part over this service identification part is you sometimes get bugs like the SMTP open relay if port 25 is open. You get the FTP anonymous login if port 21 is open. So try your luck over here, and you might have a chance to get bugs which other hunters might not be looking. Then we have the same things like subdomain enumeration, takeovers, misconfigured services, buckets, broken link hijacking, the service enumeration. So most of the things now in the second part is almost same. The initial list goes longer and longer, and the more subsidiary acquisitions, or the more traces I found about my target, I can apply these things again to increase my attack surface to a great level. So again, going back to small scope recon, only a few things that need to be done in recon. So if I have an application, I would barely spare like around a half day to a day doing recon on a small scope. Okay, and then I will just jump to the burp suit and the normal testing flow. When it comes to the medium scope, considering there are like average of 1,000 subdomains, or 2,000 subdomains, I will spend like around 2 to 3 days on reconnaissance, which I will basically automate to reduce the time frame. When it comes to large scope, I will spend like a much larger time doing manual recon for like a day or two, and automated recon for a day or two, and then like in a nutshell, like around 4 to 5 days doing recon properly for the large scope. And like whenever I find an application which is basically not available by direct search, or not listed everywhere, I just start hacking on it, because there is a 100% chance of getting a valid bug traced, not as a duplicate, obviously. So before moving to the offensive approach for recon, again, if you have any questions so far, just let me know so that we can cover it up and move forward.
Yes, Harsh, we have a question, and it is any tools for parameter discovery other than Param, Miner, or Arjun?
Okay. So there is a tool, the Param Spider, which you can use. Also, what you can do is that basically I do most of the time is I extract the URLs. I grab some particular words from some particular positions to generate some keyword list or some word list, and then I hit my target with Burp Suits Intruder, or you can basically use any of your preferred tool to like you can use FUF, you can use WFuzz to fuzz with that custom word list to find parameter, and that is more valuable for me than using some already existing tools in the market. So when I create a custom word list, it gives me a lot better chance of finding the parameter, because the custom word list will be more of related to the target itself. So the parameter naming convention or the parameters presence might be easily extracted or available using that thing. Okay, so is there any other questions or we can move on?
No, that's all for now.
Okay, cool. So when I say about offensive approach for the recon, there is literally, not something which is not already there or which people might not know, but this is something that I implement usually. The first thing is choose scope-based recon. Like I am picking up a target. There's a private program or a public program. I know that what is my target. I divided my targets into three categories. Now I will choose, for example, my target is say medium scope recon, right? Now I know that how much time or attention I have to pay to recon, and it actually saves a lot of time for me. Like I need not to go and waste a lot of time doing this recon for no reason, and then getting duplicates and hurting my motivation along the way. So, for example, I choose the medium scope recon. This is the first step, the choose scope based recon, which is gonna help you give you a clear vision of what you exactly need to do and want to do with the recon. Now, create a script for automating scope based recon. Now, so going to the medium scope recon, I know that I have to check for these 10 things, right? Now, what if I create a script which implement all the tools that I use or the scripts that I use to perform the recon on these these 10, 15 things, right? And implement them into a single script, run it once, and it does all the job for me, right? Sounds cool. And I need not to run every tool again and again, or I need not to, run 10 commands, 15 commands, give different outputs. So this is something I'm going to show you once like we move to the practical part, where I create my own scripts, implemented some of the tools that I use, for example, like subdomain scanning or maybe the GitHub Recon or the parameter discovery, and it just saves the outputs to some particular directories. And all I need to do right now is just to go and search what I need. So this helps and reduces my time a lot. Now, run automation scripts over cloud, right? So the reason running the automation scripts over cloud, like sometimes your scanners or your tools go off the track and they hit some other third-party service, and it may flag you, and it may be a privacy violation for you, and you might be sued for no reason. And obviously, you don't want to do that. Secondly, the internet speed and the congestion would be very much less over a good cloud service provider. The third thing would be that you can actually keep your system going on, and you can actually make your systems RAM free. And while you're hacking, like you doing the manual pen testing using Burp Suite and your other preferred tools and the techniques, you can actually run the cloud in the background using SSH connection or something, and you can keep your recon going over there. And further, you can sync your recon data. Now, once these three things are pipelined, I do manual recon for GitHub and search engine docking. Okay, while the automation things complete, because for GitHub, I still prefer using manual recon over the automated recons, because there are a hell lot of uh, false positives in automating the GitHub recon and search engine docking. So this particular thing I do manually and takes me like around half day to effectively do it. Then what you can do is you can create cron jobs or schedulers to rerun specific recon tasks. This is really, interesting thing when we talk about the medium or large scope recon or some old mature programs. So the old mature programs, they actually, keep on adding or removing the domains like every week or month or in a particular time frame. So if you, for example, run a subdomain enumeration on 1st of August, and then you scheduled again a job or your tool to run on 10th of August, you can actually compare the results of the subdomains found on the day of August 1 and day 10, and you can basically calculate a difference, and you can find only the new subdomains which appeared in the list. And the new subdomains, for example, there are 10 new subdomains, there are two new application out of it. You are now one step ahead of your competition to hit on those two only, right? A lot of people already do it, but there is no, there is no nothing, or what we say, like there is no bad trying doing it, because it will give you edge somewhere. The final thing is implementing alerts or push for Slack or the preferred notification board. This saves a lot of time, and like you can configure it the way you want. And like for example, when your script completes the recon task, you can basically set up a Slack notification which is saying that the recon on target X is completed. Now, what you can do is you can simply put your attention to the finished recon and check what you found using recon, right? So this is in a nutshell is the offensive approach for recon, which saves your time, increase your efficiency, and helps you find a lot of vulnerabilities. Okay, so is there any question so far before we move to the practical side and looking at the tools and how to automate things?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. One is, can you misuse the cookie file of websites and how to find it?
Can you use cookie
Can you
files?
misuse the cookie file of websites and how to find it?
Okay,
I mean,
so
we don't have much detail about it, but this is what
okay,
we have.
so just if I am understanding the right, the question might be around that the cookies, the cached files or the session cookies. So I am taking the both of the scenarios. If I am talking about the cached files, so sometimes there are some the middleware caching servers, so that the time to load your particular resource or document reduces. So if you find a file or a particular directory which is being cached somewhere, so there might be a chance of leaking some personal sensitive information or maybe the credential or something. Second case, if we talk about the cookies, the session cookies or something, I am not sure if you can always find session cookies using recon, which would be live when you find them. So there might be some scenarios where the developers or some user might have posted some request or something for debug information on GitHub or something, and there might be some cookies, but I haven't seen so far that those cookies work, right? They might be expired originally. And if it's something like how to steal a session cookie or something, that would be a totally different question in that scenario. Then you have to rely upon like, are there some secure flags set or not? Is there any HTTP only flag set or not? Then do you have any vulnerability like XSS or something to steal the cookie and then exfiltrate the data? So these would be some of the scenarios. If you have like more detailed question, I can try to answer that as well.
Yes, right. So another question that we have is, what is the difference between service and SSL enumeration and how to automate it?
Okay, so when I talk about the service enumeration, I talk about the kind of softwares which are running like Nginx or maybe Apache, maybe it's running PHP, some older version, maybe it's running WordPress or something. So these are the services, the third party services, or maybe the third party software which are being implemented on the backend, or which are the building blocks of your application, right? When I talk about the SSL enumeration, I basically I'm talking about checking the SSL certificate for finding more domains, right? So these are totally two different things. And about automating, we will look at it into shortly once we move to the recon of like the tools part.
Yes, another question we have is how to get websites vulnerabilities if they protect from host header.
Sorry, can you please repeat if what protects from?
Yes, how to get websites vulnerabilities if they protect from host header.
So if the question is like bypassing the hosted injection, there might be some particular scenario like applying some different headers like host, X forwarded host, or the vulnerabilities as in what, like which particular vulnerability the person who's asking the question is willing to see. Because there might be some vulnerabilities which are being blocked by host header, like for example, you want to do a password reset poisoning and you want to send it to your own host and steal the token, and the host header is being validated, and there is then you might be willing to apply techniques like setting a X forwarded host or something, which again in turn would be helpful. But if you again like granularize this question to the exact thing, I would be able to answer it much better way.
That's right. That's right. Actually, yeah. So I would request. This is Deepak Jindal who has asked this question. So I would request him to elaborate on this a little bit more, so he can, so Harsh can answer it properly. And
Yeah.
another question
Otherwise he
is,
can, yeah. Otherwise he can ping me as well. So if like there is anything or anything by chance I'm missing, I can just pick it up to the pace.
right. Yeah. So another question is, can you please explain how to use GitHub for Recon? Well, I think you have already covered it. So this is the question: how you can do GitHub for Recon? How you can use it?
Okay, so for GitHub Recon, we will move it on to shortly, and I will show that some of the basic things that you can use. You can also I will show also the automating GitHub Recon, or also using the manual tactics. So okay, let's move to the GitHub Recon part first. It would hardly take 5-10 minutes. So I will be first going to go over the manual recon using GitHub. Okay, so simply go to GitHub. For say my target is let's say stackpath.com, which is basically a public program on Bugcrowd, old and mature program. So when I see stackpath.com, so there are 24 repositories. The first thing that I am going to do is to simply go and search for AWS and click on in this organization, click on codes. And so if you see that files which contain this AWS keyword are being highlighted, now there might be a lot of things. I want to again, realize the search to say AWS secret, and there is nothing as such. So I'm just going to again reduce it to just secret. And there might be some client secret, client ID, and depending upon what's their use, I just want to analyze them. Now, the main and important note whenever you are trying to find a vulnerability using recon, just don't report anything blindly, right? So see, for example, there is a file called test.php. The credentials stored in that test file might be just for the testing purpose. They might not be the real or actual credentials, right? So if you ever find an API key or ever find a service credential, always exploit them first. If you don't know how to exploit a service, go to the documentation, see how the API key or the service credential or tokens are being used, and then try to replicate using the API key or the tokens or secrets that you have found. Once you are able to access that or exploit that API key or the token or the secrets, then only report it. Otherwise, there is no sense of wasting time in writing a report for like investing half an hour or whatever time you take. Now, this is one thing, like you can basically give organization, your target organization, and basically a keyword, whatever you want. Like for example, I want to check for Docker. So basically just say Docker, and it will give you everything which contains Docker. And basically if there is something for say GitHub token, so GitHub underscore token. Okay, if I take example of this one and say GitHub underscore token. Now, if you see, they have actually created a variable out of it, the secrets.gh token. Now, for example, in GitHub underscore token and then colon, and there would be the actual GitHub token. You can actually use this token to access the service, the GitHub account associated with the particular token, and actually exfiltrate data. So similarly, if you see the GPG private key, and if there is actually a GPG private key, you might try to again, use it for something and similar that way. So don't report if you see something like this, like dollar secrets.gh underscore token. This is not a bug. This is good from their end, right? So if I go and like search for this thing, GPG underscore private underscore key, I can basically do this. Uh, okay, yeah, here. And basically there is the same file that we looked. So basically doing GitHub recon is nothing similar to the search engine docking. You need to know your organization, and you need to know the keyword actually. If you know the keyword that you want to search, you can do it. So there is a repository by Add Overflow. Add Overflow, I don't remember exactly the CI/CD thing. So there is a list of some of the useful keywords. Just let me find it. So the full list over here. I am just sharing this to Bablu, and he will further share you the list so that you can actually use it. So these are kind of, the keywords which are basically something which might be valuable for your target application. And if you are able to exploit these things, you can actually report them. So this is a very long list. You can one by one hit, or you might want to automate it. So that totally depends upon you. So for example, I just want to check for this S3 access key ID. Basically, I can copy this, paste this, and just simply say this. There is nothing related to this. Now, there is also options like, let's go back to StackPath. So Google and StackPath, GitHub. So there is something called people, right? So people are basically the member of the organization. So there is right now no public members. So there might be some organization having some public members, say Dell. There might be of Dell GitHub, not GitHub. Okay. So if you go and see there are 5 people, so you might want to check their repositories as well, because sometimes they might use their own email address of Dell to access some service, and there might be some secrets being exposed. So I usually find things onto this people thing if they are related to the target organization somewhere. So most of the bug bounty hunters might not look into those people thing or the guest thing. So you can basically check that as well. So this is more of the manual part of GitHub Recon, and let's see the automation part.
Harsh, one thing I wanted to mention here, if you go back on the same website, GitHub,
Okay.
so like there is, yes, there is on the right top corner, you would see best search. Best search may not necessarily be, recently indexed. So you can also, here on the right side here.
Uh, Somewhere. Okay. Best match, right?
Yes, yeah. So I think this is a very important feature that you can use, recently indexed feature, especially because
Yeah.
if you, yeah, so you can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Because
so basically, like the thing that this particular recently indexed or least recently indexed. So this is totally to again preferencize your particular search. So if you want, like, you have already been into the target, and if you want to see something which related to like the secret keyword or some the Docker file which is implementing something very recently, you can just go and search about it. So this is the same way that we do. Now there are some so there are some also some option called advanced search which you can further use. So it's again like the basic idea of doing the GitHub Recon manually is you should know what we are looking for and what keyword you want, right? So basically the list that I have shared with Bablu. So basically
yes, I have shared.
okay, so that particular link talks about like almost all the particular keys and service. Now, if you have your own, or if you encountered some scenarios where you have, figured out some of your own keywords, you can keep on adding them and just search it. Okay, so moving back to the this thing now. This is my Cloud VPS console. I connected it to SSH. And I have a Kali Linux installed over it. So it gives me almost all the tools that I want, and then further I can install the tools. Now, uh, moving to the GitHub, automating GitHub Recon part, the tool I use is called GitHound, which is quite interesting tool. Let's see GitHound in action. So what I do is I first go and, so let's see I have a list of URLs. So say recon and then say cd uh, intel.com or something should be here. Say framer.com and let's say then say ls and so I will be using this framer.com and then underscore URLs. So these are some of the URLs like which are from framer.com's enumeration or initial recon. I need a file name. Okay, yeah. So I actually have already like automated my recon stuff. So this is how the things are being organized. So these are the URLs which are being, uh, I have performed subdomain enumeration. Then I have like from using multiple tools. Then I ran it over the HTTPX, and then I resolved them to the 200 status. Based on that, I grabbed them, and using regex, now I have a file which contains only the unique domains over here. So this is the result file. What I just want to do is I just want to say this catframer.com resolved and just run the githound tool. Now remember, I have this githound into my environment variable. I will talk about it shortly. So if you want to do it the same way, you need to have githound into your environment variable. That's it. It will ask for my, okay, it's logged in. That's cool. Now it will go and search. It will take a little bit time to search. It keep on searching for every this particular URL, and if there is any result, or if the tool find there is anything sensitive, it will just show you the link and the particular secret or something, and then you can manually verify it if it's a valid or not. Remember, tools generate a lot of noise, so you need to make sure that you have to verify it. Just don't report anything blindly. There is one more tool called GitHound, which the GitRob, which I use very much less. So I just, I will just prefer the GitHound over other automation tools for GitHub. Now, moving back to our slide where we were by the time this particular GitHub recon finishes, automating recon. So I will just show you some of the scripts and how I organize my recon. The thing that we talked over here, create a script for automating scope-based recon. So assume that we have this medium scope recon, and I just want to do some of the things like I want to enumerate JS files for domains or sensitive information. I want to perform subdomain enumeration. I want to perform the directory enumeration maybe, or the potential URL extraction. So for this demonstration, I quickly created a script. Let's move to VPS. Okay. Okay. LS. So this is basically something I call like a tool beam. So what this particular tool do is it takes a list of files. For say there are five subdomains, five domains that I want to perform my recon on, say target1.com to target5.com. I put all those five targets into a file, say target for recon. Now I like get that file using this particular line, and I run a for loop over all those five targets. Now the first thing it do is it resolve. So on this particular action, I have created a separate script. So what this particular script do is this perform subdomain enumeration using 2 3 tools, and once the subdomain enumeration is done, it performs the subdomain resolution. So it goes to HTTPX and then resolve the subdomain and store the things into a particular file. Now once this step is done, it use extractor. So it basically perform wayback URL and Go for extracting the URLs, and then using GF pattern, it basically extract for the potential accesses, potential SQLi, potential RC, and things like that, and store it to some particular files. So there is again a separate script for that, which is implemented here. Now the reverse.sh basically utilize AMAS, the reverse voice functionality to find out the more relating domain. And there's again a separate script. We will see each of them. Then the nuclear is basically for running the nuclei, which is by Project Discovery. Really a great tool for automating the vulnerabilities. Then a simple script to check for heartbleed, And likewise, you can, add thousands of your recon tools. I just created a quick script for showing this for this particular presentation. Now, so let's say look at the resolver.sh and how resolver.sh work actually. So if you basically see the resolver.sh, what does it do is basically it go over the subfinder, and then it created here it created directory root recon and $1. So $1 would be basically the name of target, say target1.com. So it will create a directory in this particular location. Once the directory is created, then it will perform subfinder using this target.com over here, and it will store the results into this directory created over here with the file name target.com underscore sub d. And then I run asset finder, and then it similarly append the results to this. Now, subfinder and asset finder will find like a lot of common and similar subdomains. So what you need to do is you need to simply cat it, this $dils $sub d, short uniquely, and store into a new file. Then using that new file, use simply httpx this particular regex that is on my Twitter, you can find it, and then simply put into the file resolved. Now moving back to the recon folder, you will see that, see here we have the sub d file, subdomains file, and the resolved file. So basically these are the three files which are being created using that particular script. Now everything is well organized. Like I have a folder called framer.com, and in that particular folder I have called sub d and the subdomains. Now if I simply say that framer.com sub d, say how many words are there. So there are like 394 subdomains and 134 which are unique. So there is a difference. Obviously I don't want to perform actions on 394 repeating domains, but 134 unique domains. So basically I have the 134 unique domains over here. Now this file goes to this resolved thing. I want to see how many domains are resolved as valid 200 status or something. So what I can do is I can just simply go and check resolved and simply say wc-l, and I have 56 valid domains which resolved somewhere, which goes to some follow redirect, some virtual host, and everything included. Now I have a very much specific and granular data, and now I need not to waste my time doing this process manually. My script does it all for me. Now similarly, there are more scripts like let's say for nuclear, which is for automating nuclei. So what this particular script does is it basically create a directory again with the name target.com. Then from target.com, this directory which is created over here, it picks up the file $1 underscore subdomains, the file that I created over here, the framer.com slash subdomain. So it will just put it over here. Then it will say httpx hyphen silent. It will perform the resolution. It will uniquely sort if there is any, repetitive or duplicate resolution. Then it will basically perform the nuclei using the templates which are being put over here, and then it will store the output into $1 underscore nuclei, which is the framer.com underscore nuclei in this case. So now the all the scripts which I run using different places or different directories, they will put my data into a single folder with the specific file name created using the specific particular pattern, like say nuclei or say reverse, resolve, redirect, and things like that. Now this particular things help me organize my complete recon, and if I actually tell you, there is a hell lot of data generated using recon. If you see, there are like 372 domains which are on this VPS, and on other VPS there are like around 1,000 domains, 1,000 programs which have the recon data. See, everything is like well organized, and all I need to do is I just need to go to say this particular program like cengage.com, and I have the data with me over here. Now this you need to write once and things go automatic, right? Now if again we move back to the tool Beam, it does things into a for loop, right? It takes a target, it perform all the actions. Once it's done, it again takes a target, perform all the action until every target from that particular file is done. It just simply finish the loop. So let's see Beam in action. Say nano, a file called target. I just say tar and then say target. I simply create a file, say target1.com, target2.com, target3.com. Simply save this file, say Beam, that's it. And it start running Beam and it just will go everywhere and enumerate everything for target1.com, target2.com, target3.com, and then just put everything into a different file. So this is how basically you can automate things for more profit. Now, if I see that GitHub token thing again, it's just highlighting some of the things like say there is some redirection token. Now this might not be sensitive. I need to manually verify. There is something called SSH ID underscore RSA. So this might be just the keyword, not actually the ID underscore RSA file. So I need to again verify it. So this is something that you always need to verify. So go and like manually verify before reporting it blindly. By the time the scan completes, do you guys have any questions so far?
No, Harsh, currently we don't have any question.
Okay, that's great. Now, so by the time the scan is complete, let's again move to another VPS and see some more stuff.
Yes, we have got one. Which
Okay.
cloud service you use?
So this particular one is on GCP and I have like accounts on some multiple clouds. Like I also use DigitalOcean and AWS, but the most preferred one depends upon your choice. For me, GCP is much easier to use. Also, I am facing problems with DigitalOcean lately. So right now it's GCP for me, the one right now I'm using.
And GCP also gives you $300
Yeah,
credit as well for 1 year if you are using your
yeah,
email first time. So I also use GCP quite much, and it's quite fantastic.
yeah, exactly. So for currently, like for right now, my current VPS configuration, it's a custom VPS configuration, which actually is going to finish the $300 in about, I guess, 2 months or 3 months, because it takes, it keeps on running in the background now. So there are like a lot of scripts which I basically write based upon the usual experience I face in the regular bug bounty. So, for example, I was like looking for this fave icon thing. Like I want to, extract the fave icon hash. So Devansh guy, he recently launched a tool for this fave icon extractor. So I really don't want to go everywhere and again, say favicon dot this particular Python file and again generate. So I automated his tool again using my script basically. So what it happened, what it particular script do is say favicon dot sh and say del.com. Okay, so it will create a directory called del.com into this particular location root/recon/del.com. Then it will basically echo https del.com by replacing $1 with del.com. Then it will run the Python 3 tool wherever it is stored in my directory. Then it will again store this particular result of this tool into this file called $1_favor, right? Then the names are fancy, just don't have any meaning over it. Then I basically concatenate this particular file which is created over here. I grab this particular keyword, I cut with this particular delimiter from this second position, then again I cut for something, and then I basically store the the basically the hash for that particular domain to this directory, and using T I print the output. Now this is basically the output. Now again and again, if I want to check for Dell.com's favicon, I need not to run the tool again and again. It's stored, it's into a very much what we say organized fashion. So let's see where it is stored. CD recon, then say Dell.com, and if you see, the files are here, Dell.com underscore favor. So this is basically the tool's complete output. Obviously, I don't want to see that output every time. So what I can do is I can basically say fave hash, and this is something that I got it. So basically this way you can write your scripts. The script that I write is basically totally based upon the experience that I face on a usual bug bounty or pen test. You can modify the existing scripts. So I am planning to launch a set of script real soon on, I will publish on GitHub. They are basically nothing new, just the version I use. So they are like not something very much fancy. You can actually write them on your own. They are like literally 10-minute thing to write. You should know the basic of bash, and that's it. So
Right, and it helps a lot.
yeah, so looks like the target1.com is actually some domain. I didn't know actually. So let's basically see what Nuclei is. So Nuclei is basically a template based vulnerability scanner. What this particular thing does is let's see in action first. So Project Discovery recently launched this tool called Nuclei, which is basically a powerful tool written in Go for finding vulnerability based on templates. So template is something that there is a vulnerability, say XSS. Every time you say target.com slash JavaScript colon alert one, it will pop up a XSS payload, right? XSS alert box. Now the target.com slash, and the second part was XSS. The second part always remain fixed. Assume that, right? I just need to change the word target.com to target 1, target 2, target 3, target 4. So basically I can write a template where it will just change the name of target, and it will tell me if it is vulnerable to XSS or not. So basically there are a hell lot of templates being created by the community. It's just like always being updated regularly. So let's just quickly see any of the template. So directory traversal in Spring Boot's cloud configuration server. Basically on the base URL you will type your URL, say https://target.com, and the tool will automatically append this rest of the part to the base URL. Now, once it's appended, it will send a request and will check for the matcher. Like if status is 200 and the regex says that root and this particular thing, then it will say it's vulnerable. Otherwise, it will say not vulnerable. Now, again, this doesn't guarantee you to be 101% accurate, right? The tools are automation tools and they can be producing false positives a lot of times. So let's just say this particular thing /git/config. I don't know what is in there. Let's just see. So there is something called this username and email and some remote origin and things like that. So if there is something sensitive or if there is something which I can actually utilize, I can report it, and depends upon the sensitivity of the file, I can basically report it. So git config is basically considered to be a sensitive file if there is some data which I can use to perform some attack. So this is basically how Nuclei works, which is really a powerful tool. So most of the tools from my arsenal are revolving around the project discoveries tool like HTTPX, then Nuclei, then the Subfinder, and then they have this Chaos, where there is already a lot of domains, like 5.434 billion records are already there for subdomain enumeration, and you can actually assume how much it is, right? So you can basically search based on new programs, new subdomains, HackerOne, Bugcrowd, self-hosted, with rewards, without rewards. So basically this is really great. They are pushing the API key for use of public, and it should be available soon to everyone. We since like contributed to the nuclei project, we have the API key with us already, which will help us to access this thing from CLI. So this is almost, scan is almost finished. So I'm just going to just close it, and let's see. Let's move to the recon folder and say ls and say grab, say target, and see the target1.com and target2.com directories are over here. And if I go to target1.com, I have all the files for this. So this is a very simple way to, now I need not to run, nuclei again. I need not to run the reverse subdomain enumeration or the result or the subdomain scan or the GF patterns or anything. I just need to create a script. I just need to create a for loop and just put my target domains to that, and it will do job for me. Similarly, you can set up the push notification, push alerts. I didn't had enough time for this to implement in this script, so I just going to show you a skeleton script which you can further modify. Now, do we have any questions so far?
No, currently not.
Okay, cool. Now let's move forward. Finding low to critical vulnerabilities with recon. This is something that we already saw, that the nuclear thing that automatically gives up if there is any vulnerability. Similarly, there is something called GF patterns, which is nothing like fancy, but a set of patterns written for grep, which grep for specific keywords or set of keywords and based on regex. So let's see that in action. So this is basically a file where I do wayback URL on my target. I store it somewhere, then I perform gov and store it append it to the same file. Then I cat the URL and short them and store them to some particular file. Now, then I use GF pattern for XSS, SSPI, SSRF, SQLi, and other things on them. So GF pattern for XSS actually add some additional fields, so I need to cut it down, and based upon that I just apply a simple the cut regex and store it to the XSS file and simulate for others. Now let's see how they looks like. Basically it says 1259 lines or the URLs which might be vulnerable to XSS, which is huge. There might be repetition, so let's see if there is any repetition. Okay, so it says there is no repetition. That's because of this thing, XSS. So if you see, there are like a parameter, like the value is different, so you might need to again like cut it down, right? So what you can basically do is you can basically further cut with the question mark parameter and say the field that you want to keep is field number 1, the before one, and then simply just say wc hyphen l using now we have 11 URL, which should not be the case. Yeah, so now we have just 11 URLs which are different. Now if I just want to keep again, like let's say I just want to cut it with the equals to field. Now I have much better thing over here. I can basically sort it uniquely, and these are some of the parameters and domains where actually I can go and try for XSS. Now what I can do is basically I can use tools called Delphox or some of your the preferred tools for XSS. So I can simply go say cat framer.com XSS file over here and simply say Delphox pipe, and that's it. it will just run the Delphox for accesses on these many target URLs or the less, depends upon your regex choice. And you can basically automate finding the vulnerabilities. Similarly, you can do for the SQL injection or some other vulnerabilities. You can export them and then test them manually using burp suits, intruder or something. So uh, that's again a preference, but this is basically an idea that how you can find the URL that might be vulnerable, and further you can utilize them to test for the accesses or the other vulnerabilities. So this has been completed. It says there are some keys. You need to basically go and verify each of them manually. Let's close this one. Okay. Now, hack while sleeping is something that we already covered most of the part. That automating your recon over the cloud allows you to hack while you sleep. Like, here's what you need basically: a cloud service provider with like anything like AWS, GCP, DigitalOcean that you prefer. So basically, create a cloud service provider, VPC or VPS on a cloud service provider. This is something that I'm not going to talk about, that how to create it. This is not related to Recon. It's just simply you need to go and see, check their documentation, create a VM and install necessary tools, right? So by mean of installing necessary tool, I mean is that all the tools that you need to write your script or you need for your daily pen testing, just write all those necessary tools so that you need not to again and again install them. What I do, I basically create a reusable installation script which install all the tools whenever I want to create a new VPS or VPC or any cloud service provider. Now just will quickly show you that how that script look like. Just give me 1 second for that script. By that time I find that script, do you guys have any questions? So you can ask it.
Well, a lot of folks are asking for the scripts you have just demonstrated. So I just wanted to tell them that uh, Harsh is planning to, post those on GitHub.
Yeah.
Correct, Harsh?
Yeah, because actually
Yes.
they are not, well, like adjusted yet. So I am actually planning if I can basically add the concurrency to the script, so that right now the script basically complete one target and then pick up another target. So the rest of the tools, like for example, the resolver script is finished. It is no longer in use unless a new target is being picked up using the for loop, right? So there is a lot of this the time it takes to scan 10 target is actually right now high. So I just want to reduce the time by including concurrency. This is something I want to do and then launch the script.
Right.
So if any guys have any idea about adding concurrency to bash script or something, please feel free to ping me and we can basically collaborate and make it a lot of quicker.
Right.
So, okay, now this is basically a script that I use to, automatically install all the tools. So let me just quickly go through it. So basically it enable the SSH, start the SSH service, then add the Kali Linux repositories, add the GPG keys, like create them. Then basically it install the Kali Linux with everything mode. It takes like a lot of like not lot of but some clicks to say yes, 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 and then basically it automatically download the Golang, Python, Ruby, screen command, GitHub. Then it switches to sudo su mode and then it creates three directories, because these are the three directories where I use and put my tools, the tools, the con and arsenal directory. Now it goes to this particular directory tools root and basically it clones every tool into the this tools directory, or if there's a go tool, it simply do go get and install these tools. So these are basically the tools. Like there are a lot of tools that I install because I want to basically experiment with them all. So every tool is automatically installed. Once the tools are installed, I create, I simply echo the aliases using the path, because for me, the path is always the same. It is never the different, is always the same. So basically what I do is I just go and give this particular thing in a check. there are a hell lot of aliases being created, and it goes to the root bash rc file. Then at the final time, it just simply say source bash rc, export go path, and that's it. My VPS is totally ready for hacking. That's all I need. Sometimes I need to go and manually install the pip files, which is something I am also planning to simply add on this script. And this is something you really need to just set up your VPS for your bug bounty purpose, and yeah, mainly bug bounty purpose, because all these tools are for web pen testing right now. This is something that creating reusable scripts, the part of the presentation here, creating a reusable installation script. Now clone your automation script to the cloud. Basically, just copy that and install the tools. It will take like roughly half hour to install all the tools. You need not to again go and uh, find the GitHub URLs for each and every tool. Just say sh install.sh, and there you go. Then once you have this Linux screen command installed, which is really interesting one. Let's see how it works. So basically, I will say screen and hyphen s to give it a name. Say let's say dynamic CISO and or CIO, whatever. Okay. So basically, it created a screen which will run in the background as well. So I have created a screen called dynamic CIO. I am running say any tool, say Veeam slash Arsenal. Just a second. Veeam slash root slash Arsenal, and then say targets. Now, sometimes when the VPS go off, or sometimes when by inactivity the SSH goes on the connection timeout mode, your thing will ruin. It will ruin your VPS and everything. Now, accidentally my internet connection goes off or something happens, and I am no longer connected to the VPS, and by any means my Veeam tool, which is not designed to run in background, breaks off. I have to again start from zero, right, for the remaining of the subdomains. Now, if I have this screen command on, I can basically close it and simply again run my VPS and say bash and sorry, bash screen hyphen ls, and so simply screen hyphen r, and there I go. Again, I am exactly at the point where I closed. I mean, like not at the point where I closed, but the tool is running on that particular screen, and it doesn't matter if I close it. It will only end if I manually end it, or if I force my VPS to end it, or I shut my VPS down. So this is something interesting which you need to you know hack while sleeping, because you can simply create a Linux screen, run your automation, exit your the SSH session, and just relax, enjoy, watch Netflix or whatever you want to do. Log into VPS again, connect to the screen, and see the results. That's it. The screen keeps your commands running in the background and doesn't terminate job if SSH timeout or force closed, right? So basically, when it comes to the case studies or further roadmaps and hacking tip or tricks, um, in a nutshell, that I want to just share about the tips and tricks first. Whenever you find an API key, or whenever you find a secret or something, always exploit them first. I told this in the very beginning of the talk, that exploit things first before reporting them. Uh, Second, and a very important thing is, a lot of beginners basically ping me or ping any of the person who is already into the industry and ask them that, hey, this I found this file, can I report it? Hey, I found a rate limiting, can I report it, or something? Hey, I found xg things, can I report it? So basically, I ask a question: what is the impact upon confidentiality, integrity, and availability? So confidentiality say, can you basically access the data which is not owned by you? Integrity say, can you modify the data which is not owned by you? Or availability say, can you stop the original user from accessing that data? In a nutshell, right? So if you find a kind of, for say, S3 bucket which has listing all the files, some public image files, so what is the impact upon CIA? So people will say that I can access the data which is not mine, right? But the image file are basically meant to be public. So this is a intentional design, right? So always focus upon what is the impact, why the impact is there, is it intentional or I am actually looking at some vulnerability. Ask these questions to yourself first, and then you will get a clear picture, right? What is the use of asking me or someone else and we asking you the same question, instead of you asking the same question to yourself and figure things out by yourself, right? It will feel really good when you will, by yourself will be able to identify if it's a valid bug or not. There might be some complicated scenario where this thing don't apply. That time we actually need to go and seek for help. But learn to ask question to yourself for every vulnerability that you find. That why it's a bug, what impact I can create, or how I can escalate the impact for the improving the severity. Now, uh, when it comes to case studies, there are actually not a lot of case studies in my mind. By case studies, basically, I mean that a lot of organizations which use GitHub still have their secrets being published. So the one thing that you can do is keep an eye upon GitHub every week, because the organization tend to push updates and tend to push new things. Um, After a certain period of time, there are some their internal cycles, some of their sprints, or some their whatever the development push DevOps cycles are. So you can always have a chance to find, like, it's never like if a program is very much old or a public program, I am a new bug bounty hunter, I cannot hack or I cannot find things. The main and important thing is, just always do not run for the money that you are getting from bug bounty. Just focus upon the experience and the kind of new bugs that you are learning, which will help you to earn a lot of money into the future, right? So when I started into the February 2020, for the first 2 3 months I got a hell lot of duplicates, which somewhere point a question in my mind that shall I stop doing bug bounty or what, right? Because I am getting duplicates, no money, nothing, right? Then I created my own approach. I more like simply changed my approach to hit a target, right? Initially I just used to hit, like I usually do into my day-to-day job and things like that. Then to increase the chances of getting valid accepted bugs, in April and I changed my recon methodologies to this scope based recon. Then I started writing some of the automation tools to help me quickly identify the security issues. And here we are, like in 1.5 month my points from like 200 reached up to 1200 points, and some of the monetary benefits and some good talks came out of it, and it helps you, right? So focus yourself to learn things first which you don't know, and then jump into the stream of bug bounty, and jump into earning money and making a money mindset, right? First know the things. So this is basically some of the tips and tricks. There is a lot of tips and tricks which are posted on my Twitter, which I keep on posting. So you can basically get in touch at these handles. I am usually active to reply. You can ping me on Twitter most of the time. So with this, we are almost done with the presentation. So I would like to take next 5 to 10 minutes if we have any questions. So we can ask and discuss. And if not, then Bablu will share the PPT with you. And also I will upload the slide on the slide share and will tweet about it.
Yeah, so one question that we have got is, how do you do documentation? Because uh, document documenting stuff is very, very important. So what is your take on this?
So when it comes to documentation, I just want to ask single question. Do you mean how I do report writing or which documentation?
All right. So hope the uh, person has got the.
So I just be quickly going over both of the things. Just give me 1 second to just open up my documentation process. So there are two things. One thing I say, documenting my bug bounty thing. So just give me 1 second. Okay, where is this? Just 1 second, please. Yeah, so if you can see, this is a Trello board. Trello is basically like kind of what we say board service. Okay, so what I do is I basically create a checklist like web application checklist, some interesting CVs, some web-based tools or like these things. This is always a very much good way for me to, if there is some good tips I come across, then I just simply write it down in that way. If there is some good tools that I want to include in my arsenal, I can basically add them over here. So new discoveries. There is any new discovery that I never found, but I got to read about it, and I can do it. If there is some one line I want to, create, or there is any idea for me to create something, so I organize things that way. So if I go and see, say, HTTP header abuse, right? So what I see right over here is what are the headers, what I can check for, and that's it, right? Then for say there is password reset attacks, what I can check for password reset attacks. Weak cryptography, password reset token doesn't expire, always same, guessable token, no old password verification for password change, CSRF on password change, IDOR on password change, say XML attacks, the insecure XML processing, XSE, denial of service attacks. So what I can check for normal XSE, blind, insecure processing, authentication bypass, SOAP injection, SOAP XSE, or billion laugh or politic blob attacks, and some of the checks, let's say component with known vulnerabilities. What I can do over here is check for CVs, public exploits, Shodan, FOFA, or some similar search engine. I can do check for some of the older services, third-party services, some of the known CVs like Jira user enumeration, Apache Killer, Apache Put RC. So this is something not updated list, but this is something I used to keep a track of. I have to complete a lot of list over here, which is in pipeline. And let's say over here, there is one more thing. Basically, there it is. Okay, just give me 1 second. I don't know what is happening over there. Okay, so okay, let's just quickly see about writing the reports. So when it comes to writing the report, there is specifically a write-up that I did on, which is on Medium, for effectively writing a vulnerability report, which will lead to quick tries and bonus dollars. This include everything that you can do to write a good report. Basically, the report writing 101s, then understanding the security vulnerabilities, how to determine the impact, proper referencing and calculating the CVSS score, steps to reproduce and writing proof of concepts, how to write a remediation, a basic report template, a sample report and takeaways. So uh, these are some of the common mistakes that people do. I just don't want to reiterate them. You can basically go to my Medium, which is over there, and basically read this particular blog, which will talk about everything about report writing. So for note taking and documentation, I use Trello, and for this report writing, I have the blog separately.
Great. So I can see how well you have organized yourself. I mean, one thing, if the audience, if you don't get anything, one thing I would like to point is just learn how beautiful he has organized himself, like to-do list, everything so clearly. So do your documentation well.
Yeah, also you can do one thing is you can actually document your goals over there, like create a short or long-term goals in the form of checklist. And I hate checklists because I want them to be checked off. So I do, push myself to complete my goals before time so that I can just uncheck, like, I mean, like I can check those checklists and I can remove that from my list. So this is one of the pushing factor for me to create a checklist. So everybody have their own like pushing factor, like, right? So if you like have a whiteboard at home and you want things to be just crossed from your list in whiteboard, so you can just write down your short-term goals from for bug bounty. For say you want to earn $10,000 in 5 months, or you want to earn $1,000 every month, so just write it down, and once the goal is complete, you will feel like very much relaxed when you will cross that off, and trust me, it happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Wonderful. I I don't know about others, but I have certainly learned some cool stuff today, and especially the attack. Sorry, especially the Slack alert you talked about. Even though I'm aware of it, but it never occurred to me to implement that in the scenario. I mean, especially in this bug hunting scenario. It was very cool. So thank you,
Yeah,
and I hope our audience has also got some learned some new things, some new got to learn some new tips and tricks out of this webcast. And uh, so that's all for today. And one more thing, if you have any question, you can reach out to Harsh and follow him. He's a very reachable person. And you can also feel free to follow our Dynamics CIO and CISO Twitter handle and also LinkedIn. And yeah, with that said, that's all for now. You can fill up the feedback form uh, and tell us what you liked and disliked and what you want to improve. Thank
yeah.
so
Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day. Feel free to reach out, and we will be shorting the PPT shortly, like launching out the PPTs. And if video recording is being made public, then it will be there soon. So I guess
right.
probably we will be pushing the video recording as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. So we will be tweeting about it shortly. So you can we just stay connected to the Dynamics CIO and CISO Twitter handles and my Twitter handle, and see you there and be into touch again. So have a nice day, everyone, and thank you, Bablu, for reaching me out and having this opportunity.
It was a wonderful time with you.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice.
Have a nice day. Signing off for today.
Bye.
Bye.